three self-styled extremist Nazis were convicted of planning a terrorist attack in England. The self-styled Nazi cell had amassed 200 weapons and discussed attacks on mosques and synagogues. Tyrone Bowman live. Let's get right down to it. According to The Guardian, three Nazi extremists who amassed an arsenal of 200 weapons and discussed targeting mosques and synagogues in England have been convicted of planning a terrorist attack. Among the haul of weapons was a 3D printed gun that was almost ready to be fired. The planned attack was averted when an undercover officer infiltrated the self-styled Nazi cell. The three men were Christopher Ringrose, 34, from Cannock, Marco Pizzuti, 25, from Derby, and Brogan Stewart, 25, from West Yorkshire, who formed a virtual cell and had never met. They admired Adolf Hitler and spouted anti-immigrant rhetoric, shared material from the far-right activist Tommy Robinson, and discussed attacking places housing migrants in Britain. They were convicted by a jury at Sheffield Crown Court of multiple terrorism and firearm offenses, and warned by the judge they face lengthy jail sentences. And here are the three individuals from left to right: Brogan Stewart, Christopher Ringrose, and Marco Pezzuti. Let's take a look at them. Among their weapons were deactivated guns that were trying to restore, and they were trying to restore the deactivated guns, crossbows, hunting-style knives, and a tomahawk. The 3D gun was built from instructions found on the web and needed only a firing pin, bolt, and barrel to be turned into a lethal weapon. They identified an Islamic sentry and leads to attack and discuss abducting and torturing an imam, the route they would take, how they would avoid detection, and their escape. Isn't that something? People always do the dastardly things and they want to run after they commit their crimes. Stewart chose himself as the Führer, or leader, and laid down uniform rules for members to be clad in Nazi-style clothing. He called the group Einsatz 14, referencing Nazi paramilitary death squads, and appointed Pezzuti and Ringrose's armor bearers. The group members, who believe in a race war, criticized other extremist far-right groups for not taking action. Using the messaging app Telegram, Stewart wrote that other far-right groups just, quote, sit around and talk, end quote. Quote, I want to get my own group together because action speaks louder than words, he wrote. Stewart added, I would love to beat faggots up too. And I want to storm the government buildings and hang the politicians. The government are all full of Jews and other enemies, quote, close quote. The men were arrested on the 20th of January 2024 after the group was infiltrated by an undercover officer called Black Heart. Targets they had discussed for harassment and attacks included mosques, Islamic education centers, and synagogues. Ringrose, a manager at a car parts supplier, posted a photo of his one-year-old son wearing a skull mask and the words, quote, choose violence, end quote, while Pezzuta, a mechanic, shared videos of the Christchurch Mosque massacre. Stewart, the self-appointed leader, had never had a job and lived with his mother. In a group telephone call on 5th of February, 2 weeks before their arrest, Stewart laid out an attack plan to cruise around looking for human targets near an Islamic education center, do whatever we do, then back at mine for tea and medals and a debrief. Stewart said he wanted the members to hang out and bring ourselves closer together and just cement that brotherhood, but the meeting was canceled because of bad weather. Opening the trial, Prosecutor Jonathan Sitterford, KC, said the defendants had identified potential locations and targets, and it was the imminent threat of an attack that led to the defendants being arrested, quote, close quote. The court heard Stewart say of the group ideology, quote, personally, I've taken inspiration from the SS, and added, I also hope we can exploit or extort political rivals and potentially plan operations to meet migrants landing on our beaches and deal with them, end quote. DCI James Dunkerley, head of counterterrorism police in Northeast, said, quote, there were a group that espoused vile racist views and advocated for violence, all to support their extreme right-wing mindset, close quote. Bethan David, head of the Crown Prosecution Service's Counterterrorism Division, said these extremists were plotting violent acts of terrorism against synagogue, mosque, and an Islamic education center. By their own admission, they were inspired by SS tactics and supremacist ideology. Had Christopher Ringrose managed to completely finish building the 3D printed semi-automatic firearm that he had started to, it could have been used, leading to devastating consequences. They will be sentenced on the 17th of July. Tyrone Bowman, never surrender, never quit.